Welcome to reading time. And spruce bow or fir, not pine. Get kind of confused. Sinew bowstring. There we go. You're going to be my inner audience. I receive extremely good comments and questions on my videos. I might throw a question out there or make a supposition. And in some cases, you know, people just come right out in the comment section and say, no, that's not how it works. Or else they'll contribute their knowledge into the discussion. I sit back and it's like kind of nice, you know. People think highly of me, but where I find my greatest joy as far as this avocation, this learning about the history of bows concerning our ancestors, you know, from all over the place. North America, Asia, Europe, Africa, let's say, all over the world. I find my greatest joy in being a part of this conversation, of being part of this chain. And so I think of myself more of a conduit rather than, say, an authority. And I thank you very much for contributing. Now I get some people that will, and I'll get on with it, don't worry. Never fear, it's going to be worth watching this, definitely. Because you're going to hear other people's words, not necessarily just mine. I might have a few comments. But I get people that just come onto my channel and make ridiculous comments or just show how ignorant they are. And I block them. I've got a very low tolerance, you know, for shenanigans in my efforts to produce a bow channel. And so those people are just gone. I don't want to convey the idea that if somebody comes on and contradicts me or tells me I'm wrong or points out where I'm screwing up, those people stay. In fact, one of the people who has given us an amazing amount of information that I am going to read about was one of those people. I forget where it was, you know, but he's my Jiminy Cricket, along with some others, that pointed out that I was wrong. Take that. Thank you. Thank you for pointing this out and steering me in the right direction. I appreciate that. My skin isn't so thin that I can't take criticism. I don't like just dumb comments, you know, that are just made for the sake of being stupid. But if people point out where I'm in error, I appreciate it. Now, I am going to be reading, and I've written it down. This is my original Bowmaker's Notebook that I scanned and then used to produce my book that's for sale on Amazon. Not necessarily a plug, but just to show you the value of writing down what you've learned so you don't forget it. And in this case, writing down comments that I received, 2 of them. The first one is a extremely thoughtful and in-depth comment by Ulf Ullring. Thank you, Ulf. I appreciate it greatly. And then the next one is, I wish I knew the fellow's name. He goes by the handle Give Me a Break, and he also added something extremely worthwhile. It goes along with my videos on the alchemy of wood, changing the wood. And Ulf was kind enough to give us this, and instead of just letting it sit in the comment section on a particular video where you may or may not see it, this stuff is as important then as it is now, and it needs to be said, and pass this along. This is a golden nugget of bow building history and information. Malming by Ulf Ullring. Malming is in Scandinavia a way to make a pine tree all heartwood before you cut it. It is done by damaging the tree a couple years or more before you cut it. Malm means heartwood in all of the Scandinavian languages. Wikipedia says, or pine, Norwegian, Malmfuru, Swedish, Malmfura, Danish, Malmfyr, Icelandic, mulifera, is a cured pine wood used extensively in the Middle Ages in the construction of Scandinavian stave churches. Or pine is a hardwood of prepared old-growth mountain pines. The trees had their branches removed and were left to stand, the tree's resins bleeding upward and out of the cut branches, and thus making the heartwood more resinous. The resultant ore pine is much more resistant to rot and decay, as evidenced by stave churches surviving from the 12th and 13th centuries. And then there's a couple of footnotes there. I also wrote the 1 and the 2 in there. Malm wood are valuable because it is very rot resistant. It also becomes more dense and heavy. I have made skis of pine with much malm, and remember it didn't take a bend as well as pine with less malm. The tip, after being boiled for some time, bent and then dried in the form, still wanted to straighten when it was removed from the form. But a canoe paddle I made from malm is very springy and durable, and after 40 years doesn't show a single crack. In the old bow building tradition of boreal Scandinavia in Asia, where the classic old bow woods does not grow, composite bows were made of pine reaction wood on the compression side. Such pine reaction wood has a high malming too, but it is really the thicker cell structure that makes it stronger in compression. But pine, or spruce, is very brittle, if not backed. It is often damp. In the often damp Nordic climate, sinew backing was not used, nor rawhide. Instead, bows were backed with thin strips of flexible wood, mostly birch, but also other woods could be used as long as it was flexible. The pieces were glued together with fish glue, mostly boiled skins of bass, and then wrapped with birch bark to keep out the moisture. So in those bows, the pine wood was not malmed to make them strong. It was rather the strong compression pine wood that was naturally malmed. Another technique by boat builders, they would store logs in salty seawater for a certain time before splitting the boards for the boat. Minerals from the seawater was then pulled into the wood and made it stronger, denser, and more flexible. Away from the sea, they could instead use logs that had been buried in a bog/muskeg for a long time. And that is the golden nugget that Ulf shared with us. I'm going to make a couple footnotes here of my own. The first is that I do believe that there was a strong connection between boat builders and bow builders, because in many ways there are commonalities between the needs of the wood. The next one is, have we found archaeological evidence of bows and or bows that were dug up that were in bogs? Could it be that those bows didn't slip out of the bowmaker's hands and wound up in a bog, but were those bows made, tillered, and then buried in a bog and then forgotten about in order to increase their bowiness? Think about it. The next tidbit of information, and this is a Malming recipe. No, Malming recipe. And this was given to us by a fellow named Give Me a Break. Wish I knew your real name. And my mind kind of goes to, I wonder where this fellow is, because he's either in Canada or Europe. I don't know, but you'll see why I believe this way. It should be noted that it takes a long time for the pine resin to dissolve. I put 225 grams in about a half liter of gum turpentine. I shook it every few days for about a month before it was mostly dissolved. The first bow I tried it on, a rock maple board bow, gained only a little, but I think I have to thin it down somewhat to get a better penetration, in applying more coats. You have resparked my curiosity. Also, the solution also makes a decent natural varnish, high gloss too. I rub it with beeswax dissolved in gum turpentine to finish. Comes up real nice. Gonna try adding a little boiled linseed oil to improve coverage. Thanks again, John. And then I put my little note down here. What about soaking the end of the stave in a thinner mix? Just Like some people will take axe handles, stick it in boiled linseed oil or true oil or whatever. Just let it sit in there as a part of maintenance, and then it absorbs it. So maybe it would be possible to take a thinner mixture, and accepting the fact that you're going to make the wood a little more massive, you know, with this added resin, offsetting maybe the better compression qualities. Maybe just take your bowl after you make it and just stick it in there, or as a part of maintenance, just let it sit in there, and over a period of time, let it suck it up. I don't know. I don't know. Give me your thoughts on that. The last part of this reading time with John shall be in regards to the many comments that I receive on my videos. These aren't the only 2 comments that are worth like spreading around and getting them into your minds. I've been toying with the notion. I've got ideas for more books. When I have more time in the winter, I'm not, say, occupied so much with the tourism aspect of my home life. Writing. This is tricky. This is legalistic. First off, I want to say that I don't make an incredible amount of money on my book or writing for Primitive Archer. It's not about that. And so I can totally envision, as in the case of Ulf's and Give Me a Breaks, of having like a compilation of some of the greatest comments I get in a book so they can be spread around. I don't know about the legalese of this. You know, I was talking to my wife about that, saying if somebody was contributing, I would give them something, you know, in return. So I'm not looking like I'm just stealing stuff and trying to profit off of it. Yay, they're mowing and making noise along the roadside. I guess I have one more thing, is that there's a couple channels out there, they don't talk about bows, but they talk about the history and trying to not let the history of, in this case, Scandinavian countries die. And the one fellow that really comes to mind is Vard. Hey Vard, hope you're watching this video. And this goes along with what you're talking about, is we cannot allow the history of the people that came before us to die out. And in no way, shape, or form should this ever be allowed to enter the realm of the PC police. It's not right. And so I'm just going to add that some people confuse, like people such as Vard, of being anti this or anti that. The Vardmeister is pro history and saving the knowledge of our ancestors. In my case, I'm kind of spread around. I have no Scandinavian. I've got Germanic and Mayan, a little bit of Persian of all things. It's hard to see where that came into the family tree. Welsh and a bit of British. But I totally understand from my worldview of being kind of this and that and the other thing, maintaining this record throughout the world, no matter where you're from, is don't let our history die and go off into this weird mishmash of what a lot of modern humans are trying to like form as far as society. And with that, better fire up the chainsaw and take care of some storm damage. My Husky, it was the small one. It wasn't my 288. It was, God, numbers, I don't know, 545 or something like that, the little saw. And the last time I used it, it was just started and winding up. And so I just put it away and used my 288 for everything, including just trimming little branches and stuff, which is a treat, you know, with that heavy thing. Yesterday I went to the pole barn to grab the saw. I thought I don't know where my mind was. Maybe it was fate. It was fate. I grabbed the small saw. It's like, huh. Well, I'll try it up. Started right away, and then it just started revving to the moon. So it's like, I don't know what's going on here. I'm going to take a look, pop the cover off. It's like, huh. The throttle isn't doing anything to the carburetor. The linkage is messed up. I don't know why I didn't notice that before. It was just a matter of this little push rod came out of this the hole where the throttle is and fixed it immediately. So I'm happy that both of my saws work fine. What a beautiful fall day. And this is kind of throwing me into the Nordic climate range. You know, northern Michigan in the late fall and the winter, I can envision kind of having Nordic climate. We get cold weather, it can get down to 20 below here, and it's not a dry cold, which, you know, makes wearing shorts uncomfortable, yet I still do it. So, I have to make a compression pine and birch bark bow. You gotta. Glued together with fish skin glue. Gotta. I have to. And I've got birch bark, and I've got to cover it with birch bark. I gotta make one of those bows, or else I am not a complete human being. Enough rambling. I could go on for a few more hours, but I'm not going to torture you because I'm nice. Have a great day, everyone.